And I'm going to call to order our November 2023 regular board meeting of the Woodford County Board of Education. We're here at Woodford County Public High School. For roll call, we've got all members present and in person. We are going to stand for the pledge, and the flag is right exactly where I can't see it. It's in the corner by Mr. Smith there. And Jack Garrison is going to come and lead us at the pledge. If you want to come up to the podium, you can. Whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Jack. You're an 8th grader, right? Are you an 8th grade? 7th grader, and a football player from the middle school that represented us for the pledge tonight. Okay, are there any proposed amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to pull the treasurer's report out and speak about that separately.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to do it just because the last several months, like I've said, I think it's the right thing to do to have open discussion about our financial report. So that's why I would like to do that.
And I would just second that. I know every month we sort of say the same thing. But the bottom line is this is taxpayer money. And we are a board that's supposed to provide oversight and do allocations. And I don't feel like that we can do that when we're not given accurate and timely information, and when we're forbidden to discuss it because it's been placed on the consent agenda without the consent of 2 of the 5 members. That's very worrisome.
All information was uploaded on time and in full. Access to the information is available to the public from that moment. Mr. Smith is available to answer any questions from that moment onward up to the point of this meeting. So if there's no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay, the motion fails 3-2.
Also, item G under the regular agenda, the Columbia Gas of Kentucky easement. After placing that on there, we have realized that that needs to be approved by the Finance Corporation instead of the board, which is kind of the same thing, except that they are 2 separate entities. So we will, as everyone knows, we'll have a special call tomorrow with that. So if we just go ahead and remove that now,
Okay.
it would be easier, then we wouldn't have to deal with it when we get to that point.
Can I have a motion to remove item G from the regular agenda?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Glass.
Second.
Second by Ms. McCowan. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Thanks, Mr. Adkins. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to our superintendent's report. Mr. Adkins?
Yeah, I want to welcome everybody here. I see a large group. And, we initially had this 8th grade football team on the calendar to come and be recognized for their conference championship. Well, since then, I see my buddy Neil back there already. He's got a big smile on his face. He's just excited to get to be recognized tonight. But since then, they have become state champs. So congratulations to those guys for being here. Congratulations, parents. Undefeated state champs. And we've been knocking on the door of this thing. I think last year we played in the state championship as well. Come up a little short, but this year we were able to take care of business, and just proud of you guys. But I want to thank all the parents to be here that support them. Really, that's what I'm getting at, because we'll recognize them in a second, but it's such an important piece to have our parent support here for our district, and just to come out and support your kids. So we really appreciate that, certainly, right off the top of the bat, top of the agenda here. Again, we do have some state champs in the house, and we'll get to you in just a second to recognize you. To touch on something from this weekend, our cheer jackets, I think we had maybe 2 winners, regional winners this weekend, and a runner-up. So they've gotten, I think, 3 bids to nationals, which is just awesome to see these girls come out and perform, and just everything they do. It's to think about cheerleading as a sport. If you don't think it is, go watch them. It is it's tough stuff. So it's something to really watch. But congratulations to those ladies. Had a chance to attend Simmons Arts Day today, and what I'm getting at by telling you guys all these things is I want you to understand the opportunities that are provided in our schools for our students. We just see so many awesome things going on in our schools for our students, and not just for our staff and students, but just, for our communities, all the way around. I know that Simmons also had a movie night a couple weeks ago for the community and the kids and their parents to come in. A lot of fun there. Thanksgiving meals over at Northside. I got up there Friday morning. I thought I was going to beat the rush, and there was about probably 115 parents already waiting to get in. So there was over 400 visitors that come to eat with children that day. Again, just another great event, great community event. 100-Town Veterans ceremony. It was an awesome ceremony. Some great stories, history. And we take those types of events not just to recognize our veterans, but to also help teach history, patriotism, all those things that we want to embrace in our country. Those are great opportunities. Those ceremonies are great opportunities to teach those lessons. One final thing, we had another Tray of the Month winner through KDE. Our food service staff just do an awesome job for our kids. What they failed to mention in their post, though, was that is our one-time-a-year homecoming lunch for our middle school and our high school. So I think they caught a lot of grief because it was such a good-looking tray, and why don't everybody have that? So we were very fortunate to be able to do that. But I don't want to steal all the thunder. I want to turn it over to make sure that everybody has some good news to report. But thank you, parents. Thank our staff. Thank this community. We're here at Thanksgiving, and we want to give thanks. We couldn't do what we do without you. So I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving.
So we'll move on to our recognitions. Miss Bailey will be the MC for this event as usual. And we will start out with our holiday card artwork winner.
Good evening. So each year, our 4 elementary schools turn in student artwork to be considered for the superintendent's holiday card. Staff from the central office volunteer to be a part of the committee to pick the winning artwork, and it is not an easy task as we have so much talent in our schools. These cards will be used as the Woodford County Board of Education's holiday cards, and the student and her family will also receive 50 cards and envelopes. So this year, we are pleased to recognize Sophia Avila, a 5th grade student at Simmons Elementary, as our 2023 Superintendent's Holiday Card Artwork winner. Okay, as you can see, Miss McHale has a lot of certificates there because next is the football team. So, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask the coaches if you would come up and help the board to please pass out these certificates. Okay, boys, I'm going to call your name one at a time. So you're going to come up here, and you will start with Miss Springate. You get to shake her hand. You're going to go through the line and shake everyone's hands. Grab your certificate. Then you will walk behind me, the section of chairs here. We're going to get a group photo out there, okay? Just since there's so many of you, we're going to get a bigger area, okay? All right. Just corral them, yeah. All right, so we are highlighting the Woodford County Middle School football team who won the Division I 8th grade state championship. The team averaged 40 points a game. They earned the #1 seed for the state playoffs and received the first round byes and played in the second round of the state playoffs. And they were undefeated. Awesome job, you all. Okay, so I'm going to read your names. Garrick Lucas. He's not here. Okay. Jalen Johnson. Chris Lucas. Zion Brown. Is this not the right name? Okay, so we have the incorrect list. I apologize. So your coach, Dave Thomas, is going to call you all up instead.
All right. First off, we'll bring up Mr. Garrick Harvey. Right, and then Zeb Weiss. Mr. Jerry Harrison. Right, Kane Springate. Will Turner. Right, Wells Lowe. Gannon Goins. Jack Garrison. Austin Taylor. Right, Emerson Wilson. Right, Andrew Hardy. Cameron Johnson. Jackson Irvin, John Garbage, all right, Liam Story, Spencer Fouts, our one and only lady, Anna Tierney, Brody Rankin, Neo Davis-Jones, and Alex Centers. I know we got a lot of guys that aren't here tonight. Middle school basketball had a game tonight, so.
Okay, thank you all so much. Next, we're recognizing the Woodford County High School volleyball team, who won the Woodford County Invitational for the 2nd year in a row. They were also the district tournament champions for the 7th year in a row, and they ranked 1st in regular season district play. The all-district team consisted of Addie Chumley, Catherine Dabney, Kamya Mayhorn, Abby Weaver, and Maddie Lovelace, who is also the District 30 MVP. And for the volleyball all-region team, the individual awards went to Abby Weaver and Kamya Mayhorn. The whole team was Addie Chumley, Catherine Dabney, Olivia Dabney, Sheridan Dixon, Kennedy LaFoe, Maddie Lovelace, Kamya Mayhorn, Emery Metzger, Gracelyn Miller, Allianne Knuckles, Caroline Rabonowitz, Maddie Rabonowitz, Ella Rutledge, Peyton Samples, Hannah Simeon, Lily Slayton, and Abby Weaver. For the Woodford County High School football 2023 5A All District 5 team, we had Xavier Hill, Wyatt Crow, Leland Taylor, Leighton Starks, Justice Wurtzler, Graham Hodge, Davion Sturgis, Darian Tomlin, and Logan Ford. Okay, last but not least, we have lots of news from the boys and girls golf teams. The girls golf team had the 7 top 5 finishes out of 7 tournaments this year and qualified for the KGCA All-State Tournament for the first time. The girls golf team recorded the lowest 9-hole match score as a team with a score of 153. This beat the previous record by 6 shots. For the boys golf team, they had 3 of the top 5 finishes, including 5th in our Region 9 tournament. Bradford Lacefield, who is a sophomore, tied the lowest 9-hole match score with a 30. He finished in the top 5 of 8 tournaments, including 1 first-place finish, which qualified him for the KGCA All-State Tournament as an individual. He made the first team All-Region for Region 9, and he qualified for the KHSAA State Tournament and finished 25th. It is really impressive. For academics, out of 30 players rostered for both boys and girls combined, we had 22 finishes with a GPA of 3.75 or higher, and 3 with a 3.25 to 3.75 honorable mention. So, awesome job by our girls and guys. And now I'll read their names. So if we have any of our golf team here, we would love to have you come up and shake the board's hand, and then we will give you your certificate and get a photo. Okay, for the girls, Sophie Lester, Abigail Kane, Sarah Gilliand, Grayson Kerr, Abigail Baston, Matea Mara, Willa Cardell, Piper Reed, and Riley Kneer. I'll go ahead and read the boys' names, and then if anyone is here, they can come up, and then we'll get a group photo. And we'll just hold to the end. Okay, Bradford Lacefield, Luke Thompson, James Mendy, Peter Mara, Landon Hine, Jackson Gray, Philip Brown, Jay Wells, Maximus Mara, Elijah Martin, Braden Burton, Caleb Thomas, Braden Carter, Owen Black, Braden Lacefield, Sal Gonzalez, Charlie Herrick, Ethan McAllister, John Phelps, Zach Gresham, and Mac Mefford. and that's the conclusion of our student recognitions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bailey. Move on to our high school project update with Mr. Ratliff.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just glad it's you this time. All right, we've had another great month, very productive month. I'm sure every one of you have driven by and seen all the progress. I know the thing that stands out after this weekend is the turf on the field. Really pops, especially this time of year. So I think we're showing 50-60% complete with the turf. You know, all the detailing and striping and all that has to go on, but they made a lot of progress over the past weekend, so it's good to see that. Go straight into it. As far as the financials, nothing has changed except the amount billed from last month. The amount billed is now at $28,854,087.37. That is 47% of the overall construction cost. The revised substantial completion date still stands at November 12th, with the final completion December 12th. No changes on your contingency longs. No paperwork or change orders are before you this evening. Most likely there will be some items for next month, but we'll work on getting that paperwork prepared and sent over. Same as always, the building sequence, kind of the flow of the job which we're moving. Here's an October to November side by side. You can see a lot more CMU structural bearing walls have went up. If you look really close on the gymnasium area, you can see a lot of the high roof joists are set. Spray foam, if you look on the south side, the main entrance, the admin areas came on around. C and E, of course, are completely under roof. Area D is at 100% Area D, and what you're seeing is that opening for the mechanical room. They just got that equipment set. A lot of equipment had to be set by crane down in that mechanical mezzanine before the roof can continue on. So now that all the load-bearing walls are completed, the structural load-bearing walls, you'll see a lot of it going under roof very quickly. So the progress over the past 30 days, windows at Area C are 100% complete. Sheetrock install at Area C is 100% complete. Metal wall panels at Area C are 100%. Decking insulation at Area F is 100%. Area D PVC roof is at 40%. Area E brick, you might be able to start seeing it as you drive by, but they're coming on around from the back of the building, so before long you'll see a lot of brick going up, and it's moving its way up Schoolhouse Road. So that'll really change the appearance. It'll be a lot more eye appealing than the yellow spray foam that you're looking at now. High roof joists at the gym are 50% complete. The metal wall panel Z-furring at the gymnasium is 60% complete. CMU at gymnasium is 100%. Exterior spray foam at Area D, 75%. Area D stairs are installed. CMU install at the storm shelter is 100%. Equipment set at mechanical room 301. That's the opening I'm talking about right there in the gap in the roof that you're looking at. The storm shelter precast installation is at 50%. That's what the big crane, if you all have driven by and seen the big crane sitting out front, it's set in the precast storm shelter. Storm pipe is at 55%. Block fill at Area E and F is at 100%. Beams, decking, and slabs at the gym bleachers are 100%. That's above your locker rooms. MEP rough-in is ongoing at Area C, E, F, and D. Over the next 30 days, they'll begin finishing the sheetrock in Area C. As I mentioned, they've hung the sheetrock. That Their conditioning, will get temporary conditioning going this week, and the finishing will start. They will begin installing sheetrock at Area E. They will start the window frame install at Area E, start window frame install at Area F, pour the stairs. So when I say the stairs are set, that's the steel stairs, and then they'll pour those with concrete. So pour stairs at Area F and D, install rafters and decking at Area D mechanical room. That'll be covering that opening where we was talking about the mechanical equipment being set. They'll start exterior spray foam at the gymnasium, complete the high roof joist and decking at the gymnasium, complete the lightweight insulating concrete at the gym low roof, complete the precast installation at the storm shelter. They'll continue MEP rough-in in area C, E, F, and D, and continue site grading and storm drainage. Here's a good comparison month to month of the east view. As you can see, the joist going across the gymnasium, the 50% of the joists are set. You can see on the back side above the wrestling room and the weightlifting, the lightweight insulating concrete is poured. You'll notice in the auditorium area, the CMU is up to joist bearing height, and you can see the top of the precast storm shelter, the precast is set. Northeast view, kind of the same thing. You can see that the metal panel, metal wall panel at area C is 100% complete. You can see the wrestling weightlifting area there, the lightweight insulating concrete roof, and then the joist on the gymnasium area. There's your northwest view. You can really see the metal wall panel at this angle. You can, I think I've got a greenhouse comparison, but you can see that the greenhouses came a long way as well. The west view. You can, that's what, on the back of Ewing, you can see them, the masons are coming around the back side and working their way onto the west side. So if you're pulling into the middle school, that's what you're looking at there, where they're starting the brick veneer. There's the greenhouse. Good angle of the metal wall panel as well. Here's some interior photos. This is Wing C. These three photos kind of show you where things are at with the MEPs. That's what a lot of people don't see. That's a lot of work. You can see all the duct work, the roof drains, the hydronic piping, the electrical conduit, the cable trays, the ductwork insulation. It's you know, months and months of work ongoing that nobody sees, and all this is above ceiling, so when it's complete you don't see it. But that's the biggest bulk of work going on the inside right now, and so I just like to, it's a lot of stuff slammed into a small area, but just like to show you the progress. And of course, sheetrock's good to see. It's starting to look a lot more like a finished building. And then the picture on the far right hand side is the K13. That's acoustical insulation that can't be sprayed on till the wings dried in. So they've completed that in the last 30 days as well. This is looking into like the cafeteria area. That's the joist and decking. That lightweight insulating concrete will be poured in the next week. It's kind of, that's hinged upon weather. It kind of canceled them today, the on and off sprinkling. So that's something you don't want to get in the middle of and it start raining. So within the next week that should be complete. And then there's your area D stairs going up to the second floor. There's what I was talking about, the storm shelter precast. That's what the large crane has been setting the last week. It's 50% complete. Gymnasium, there's your high roof joist. This is standing in the commons area, kind of staring into the media center. You can see a lot of structural steel framing has went on, and also the area F stairs have been installed. So for phase 2, no financials have changed here either, except the amount billed for to date. This is through October. The amount billed for is $943,640.53. That puts us at 26% complete. with the substantial completion date still setting at May 15th, 2024. No changes here either. That's your latest and greatest contingency log from last month. You're still setting at 54.84% remaining contingency. October to November side by side, huge difference there. That's like a drastic difference in 30 days. So it's starting to really come together and looks really good. Over the past 30 days, the stone base for turf was completed 100%. The stone base for track is 100%. Goalposts are installed. Haven't seen anybody trying to sneak out there and kick a field goal yet, but it's going to happen, you know. It's bound to happen. Yeah, somebody will be out there with a football at some point. Exterior track fence is at 95%. Turf boxes and hose reels are installed 100%, and turf install is at 70%.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
Is there just one field goal, or am I just not seeing it in the photo?
You can kind of see that they're both there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wondered. I was like, well, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're just going to play half court or something, half field. 30-day look ahead. They'll complete the turf installation. They'll begin the asphalt base installation, begin rough grading at the throw area, continue rough grading at the track exterior, begin installation of concrete sidewalk and pavement. Here's the updated schedule. Again, I won't blow through or run through every line item. By all means, ask me any questions you have. The current substantial completion date is 10/22 with a final completion date of December 3rd. So that would be tracking 9 days ahead of the contractual final completion date of December 12th.
Any questions for Mr. Ratliff?
I don't have any questions, but just to say it's exciting to look at this actually come above ground, because the first few months it's just a lot of groundwork and everything, but to know that, you know, unless something happens, in a year from now we're going to have a new high school, and that's just really exciting to think that that's kind of like a final countdown of we got a year left and we'll have it. So
Oh, yeah.
it's really cool.
Come January 1st, it's on.
Yeah.
Be a fun year.
I don't have any questions for you, but I have been contacted by people saying that the website's not up to date again. I'm not sure who's in charge of that, or
What are they looking for, Sherry? Do you know?
I think what I was told is there hasn't been anything since August. So I think they were
this
just
in particular?
for our
the
website,
updates?
just with
Okay.
the monthly updates that we get each month. I think that I was expecting that each month something would be kind of updated on there with pictures and information.
Dr. Rayburn, can we make sure that the website is updated with this? I think this presentation is really all that's probably needed every month. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you for the update.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
all.
Ratliff.
Have a good evening.
You too, thanks. Okay, we'll move on to our good news report. We'll start with Ms. McCowan.
Okay. Just a few things. First, I wanted to recognize a WCHS senior, Emma Greathouse. She is a National Honor Society and Beta Club member, and she worked with a local business to create T-shirts to raise money for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation for the WCHS Gone Blue event that was held on November the 14th. So congratulations to her. That was great work. The other thing is that the Woodford Community Christmas program, that used to be, I guess, managed by our Friskies department, or Youth Services Center department. Anyway, it's been taken over by someone else this year, and she's doing a great job. It's Dawn's staff. I spoke to her a little bit earlier, and they had over 500 kids that were part of the program this year, and she has 10 kids left. So if anybody feels led or has the capacity to help, I know Dawn would appreciate it. You can email her at woodfordcommunitychristmas@gmail.com. And that's all I'll say, because I'm sure you guys have lots too.
Thanks, Ms. McCowan. Ms. Glass?
Well, I wanted to share, I was trying to look at the specifics here on the page. Just congratulations to our high school marching band. They recently competed in the Bands of America Grand National Championships at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. The pictures look awesome, and I think that's a super cool opportunity that our students got to do. And everybody else stole all my other things I was going to say. So just wish our students and staff a happy Thanksgiving and enjoy your break and stay safe and hopefully warm. That's all. Thank you.
I just had a couple quick items. The high school is also coordinating a food drive, and we're looking for, I think it was a combination of $10,000 or pounds. To date, I think it's at about 8,400. So we need about 1,600 or 1,700 more dollars or pounds. You can drop any items off here at the high school, and I think tomorrow is going to be the last day for that. So we would really appreciate anybody that could help with that. In addition to the Huntertown Veterans Day program, I saw several of the elementary schools did really wonderful programs this year, and they were so nice to see on our website, involving the entire community, including our veterans. That really was, I would say, a highlight of the month of November for me. And then to echo Ms. Glass, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Have a good break. Don't eat too much turkey, or maybe eat too much turkey. And we'll see you again next month. Mr. Brickler?
I make no promises on not eating too much turkey. Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Woodford County Agricultural Education and FFA teams. They had a gold-rated national ag sales team. They also had an individual, Callie Hudson, who was the top 10 in the nation. So a lot of good work going there. They have great teachers and leaders in those programs. They're doing different activities like ag construction, learning and showing their knowledge of dog breeds, and also horse evaluation. So just wanted to shout out those programs.
Thank you. Ms. Springate?
I will just say happy Thanksgiving to everyone and hope everyone has a safe and happy holiday.
Thank you. And actually, you reminded me of something. I think we have Christmas open house, I think December 2nd for the town of or for the city of Versailles, and the ag department is actually having a little sale of crafts and other things here, I think at the high school, is it at the greenhouse?
It's at the ag department. It's at 12:30 on the 2nd.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I saw a preview of
Yes.
some of those items, and they were
Yes.
fantastic. So please make your way out
Thank
for
you.
that.
Good call.
Okay, next up is our instructional equity report with Mr. Asher.
Good evening on this 63rd day of instruction as we continue to count up. What I'm going to be doing tonight, and I alluded to this last month because we were just on a couple days away from accountability becoming public, is give an accountability report. And sent you numerous slides of data, a lot of numbers. I'm going to be talking more colors tonight and how the accountability system rates us by colors and how we arrived at those colors. So first off, just a reminder of what goes into this. The two primary sources of information are from the KSA assessment, state assessment results in reading and math, and then in another category of science, social studies, and writing, and sometimes called writing combined. Then we also have English learner progress. That's from the Access exam that our ELL learners take in the January-February timeframe. And then the quality of school climate and safety, which is a survey that any student who's taken a KSA takes as part of that, takes that survey during that window. And then two additional pieces that are only at the high school level would be your post-secondary readiness and then your graduation rate. So when you combine all of these, let me first show you our overall, and as you'll see those 6 bullets underneath, that's what these are comprised of, is that we were indeed yellow rated across the board in elementary, middle, and high school. And then what I'll go through next is a breakdown of each of those and what that combination, where that combination for that yellow color came from. So first up, you have reading and math. As I said, that's one combined area. And I think what's important to note here is at the bottom, this is the second year of this accountability system. So status and change are two very important words of how you are rated. Status is basically your score this year, what your achievement level was for this year. And when we're talking about the content area assessments, reading, math, science, social studies, writing, basically you earn points for students that would be apprentice level or above. Apprentice being 0.5 per student, proficient at 1 point per student, and then distinguished 1.5. And of course, novice is 0 points. So status, that number, is categorized in a color there. Then that is combined with the change. So that would be either growth or decline from the previous year, so 2022 scores. So I think this slide does a good job of showing of how those were combined. So if we start at the left-hand side, their elementary school, you'll see that while their status, their scores this year were considered medium range, they did decline from prior year, so that moved the dial back to orange for this current year. So a combine of status and change. Middle school, you'll see their status of high, and they had an increase, so they remained at green. And then a high school situation there for this category is similar to elementary in that medium performance level, but since there was a decline from the previous year, that brought their dial back. I do want to point out, I forgot to mention this at the top, you've got grades 3 through 8 all taking reading and math, and then only 10th grade at the high school level. We go on to science, social studies, and combined writing. You'll see the grade levels there in parentheses of who takes those, so it's just 3 grade levels per assessment there, and then going through left to right. Elementary with high status, so that means the scores this year were in the high category. And when we say these, there are all different cut scores for these indicators and how you fall in that range. However, there was a decline, so that pulled the dial back to yellow. Middle school, high status, they maintained, so they stayed in that green status. And their dial didn't pull up or down, they remained green. And then in high school, medium, however, you can see here where the increase significantly did pull them up to green for their overall. So again, the combine of status and change. The survey, which again is taken by anyone who takes an assessment, grades 3 through 8, 10, and 11, took the QSCS is what it's called, survey. And across the board there, you'll see medium maintained, low, and there was a decline, so it was in the orange range, and then medium and maintained at the high school. Progress in English language proficiency. This was on the access test, so this is not a content area test. You'll see elementary school rated as very high, their status, and then also there was an increase there, so big gains there. Middle school, low status, however, there was an increase, so it pulled the dial up to yellow range. And then high school, low, but also increased much like the middle school, pulling their dial up to the yellow range. Graduation rate, which again is only high school, obviously, at grade 12. High status and increase, so maintained green there. And then finally, post-secondary readiness, high and an increase there to maintain their dial for post-secondary at green also. So that's when school report card, those are the main things. If you've been in it, you can find all the data you want. If you, beyond just these categories that I talked about today, also behavior, technology, so on and so forth. But I just wanted to go specifically over the accountability scores today. Where we go next is we're in the CSIP and CDIP range of time here. Much like those categories that I just went over, the KDE format, you have to set your goals and objectives and the activities to match in those 6 areas. There's one more that they add as far as the CSIP or CDIP goes, and that's achievement gap that you have to add for that. So this is an illustration of what I've shown our principal leaders back at our October admin meeting and what we continue to focus on. So coming into the school year, what this illustrates here is we had our Big Rock action plans. You add that to, this was a data analysis process that we had gone through several times in this October-November range. You add that to that, and then that then translates into your CDIP or CSIP So like I said, we're currently in that work right now, both at district and school level, to ultimately put together those plans to bring to you in either December or January to move forward and strive for continuous improvement. So that concludes, I think that's the last one. So any questions on our accountability report?
I did have one, just the areas that we declined in, are there any indicators or things of why they declined in those certain areas? Like, do you have any oversight or
I wouldn't
insight
say any
into that?
blanket reasons. What I'm encouraging in an activity that we just went through last week is you also have to account different students at different grade levels taking that assessment. So really it's a drill down to me that you make it more tangible in a way where you drill down to that group of students, whether it be at a certain grade. Sometimes it's even a certain grade level at a given school. Was it across all 3, 4, 5? So that varies, and again, that's the work we're in right now.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I would just say that, I'm very disappointed, and I'm sure that all of our teachers and parents and students are, not real happy with some of these scores and some of this data. I do think it's important that the board schedules a data meeting as soon as possible. I don't think waiting till the end of the year is the way to go. I think it'd be really good for us to go ahead and get something scheduled so that we can dig down in the data. I think the gap groups are even more disappointing than the overall groups. In Woodford, we were a top 5 district in the state not long ago, and I'm just sad to see where we're trending. I know it's important to every teacher and every staff member in every building that their students make a year's worth of growth. It's important for the students and it's important for the parents. And so I would like for us to go ahead and schedule a data meeting and then maybe look at some ideas about providing material assistance in the form of funds, staff, resources, just the kinds of things as a board that we can do to really focus on student achievement and not just say the buzzwords, but actually do the work to kind of dig in there and get that done as soon as possible.
I would like to add, I think it's also important for us to realize, I know our students and staff come to work and to school every day ready to do their best, and I think they try their best, and I think they are all way better than a test score. I think test scores are important. Yes, we want to do good. Yes, we want to improve, but we also don't show up to school and work the day every day like on the same playing field. Like, a kid could do great in tests and make straight A's in school and not test well. I think it's also important that we have to remember we're really only 2 years post the pandemic. Like, some of these kids have really only been in the classroom full time for 2 years. So I think that's all things we have to show. Instead of just being negative, I think we should try to look forward and, like you said, drill down and figure out what we can do to continue to improve. But I know our students and staff work hard every day, and I think this is just a roadblock that we have to work through, just like every other district in the state and around the country that's dealing with this learning loss still from the pandemic, and I think we're going to see that for many years to come.
I agree, and I think when you look at our scores versus the state scores, we were above every single state score, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, most state scores.
One category we're not at high school level.
So we are still a top-performing school. We certainly have challenges. Now, there were 2, I think, really important indicators that you showed. One was our EL proficiency, and that was an increase in every single sector. And that was something that last year we put a focus on, and that was based off of the test scores from the last time we reviewed them. So I think that's a real gain and a really good story that we can tell for the district and for those learners. The second one is the post-secondary readiness, and post-secondary readiness is not just how many kids are we sending to high school or how many kids are we graduating, but it's we're sending kids out of this school ready for whatever they are going to next, whether that is some type of CTE or college or whatever they're going to be doing. And I think that is something that we can also be proud of. I think every year we're going to have hurdles. Every year we're going to have a score that's not where we want it to be. and we can focus on those and we can make it better. I am proud of the work that we've done here at Woodford. I'm proud of the work that every single person in every single one of our schools has done. I'm proud of our students and our parents. I think we as a board need to focus on how we support all of those efforts in a constructive, helpful, and expedient way.
I've got just two things. The first one, Mr. Adkins, what would you say is going well and what needs improvement, just based on your district walkthroughs? What are some things that you're seeing that you might be able to share with us?
What I see in classrooms, I see great engagement, things taking place. And when I say engagement, I don't just mean students answering questions. I'm talking students up, staff up, activities being planned, activities going on in the classroom. So I see great engagement. Other things that I do see that are positive, I see school culture. I can't find a school this year that doesn't have really good school culture. Some things that we're trying and we're seeing to address these issues prior to a new state assessment is we've put in a different benchmark, I guess you would say, assessment with iReady. We piloted it last year. I think we had some pretty good success, and it really translates well into what the state assessment scores look like as well. So what I'm seeing, I'm seeing great instruction. We look at, if we're going to talk a little bit about things that and I think we've all met and agreed on this, is maybe our rigor. We need to dig a little deeper. I think deeper learning being focused on that with a little more intentionality is going to help us get there. I do. And also, just looking at our CSIPs and our CDIPs, and really probably a heavier monitoring presence with those to make sure that we're really looking at the data to include that information into the data.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the other thing was, I know that we've scheduled like a CDIP meeting. We had the first one last week or the week before. But what Ms. Springgate's talking about, has there typically been some other kind of
Data.
deep dive with the board that the board does?
Yes, we've typically done that after the new year. It's so hectic for all of our faculty, staff, everybody between Thanksgiving and Christmas when this data comes out. I think last year we met in February or March to do the
It
data
was
meeting.
Beginning of March.
Yeah.
And
Now, we can certainly pull that forward, but yes, we meet and Mr. Asher walks through a very similar presentation, but it drills down deeper into all of those areas, some of which was reviewed at that CDIP meeting last week. But yes, absolutely 100%.
And historically or traditionally, why we've done it at that point is because then you have your mid-year map at that time, whatever it may be, to show where you're trending this year. Because this is old. This was last spring, right? So we've obviously made changes and have implemented things regardless. That's what this illustrated. We have Big Rock here. We need to make adjustments based on these results, and we move forward. So my point is doing it after January 1, then we can see that fall-winter benchmark and how we're trending for this school year.
Do you think that looking at it at that point would allow time for whatever resources may be identified that, we need more staff or we need a different curriculum or some different kinds of materials? Would that allow time to get those things to the classrooms before the end of the year?
Typically, what that drilling down into that assessment does is it gives the teacher something to focus on as far as moving forward with individual students. It's not really changing much other than the focus they have with individual students when they see that data come back.
Right, but I'm talking about us as a board.
I really don't know what,
Yeah,
I don't know what
honestly,
the
I think
board
a lot
can
of
do.
those
I mean,
wheels
this
are
is
in
day to
motion
day.
already of things that we have changed, and they're more than tweaks. There are monitoring pieces that we need to put in. One example, when we talk about a category is EL plus monitored, we are really trying to figure out how we are TSI at the high school level. And I'll be very honest with you, I have yet to understand why, because we had such significant progress in that area, and I'm asking for answers. And all that to say, we've already addressed that with staff here at the high school with our EL learners, added an instructional assistant full-time here. So a lot of these wheels are in motion. It is just wrapping our hands around it, to your point earlier, of what groups of students we talking about, what grade levels, what content areas, so on and so forth. But a lot of these wheels are already in motion.
And I would like to point out too that I'm glad you mentioned that this data is a little bit old, because one of the things we did earlier this year was solidify a lot of those interventionist roles. And so making sure that that is a resource. So like you're saying, what kind of resources can we provide? We've taken steps to do that. Maybe we just haven't seen the data or the improvement reflected in that yet. So I think I'm optimistic on it.
Right, and again, why you would want to do it, the data meeting after mid-year, to show, you have two data points this year are trending this year with live data.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the data showed, because if it is from last year, Mr. Brickler, like you said, but we had all the interventionists in place last year, and the data shows that may not have been the most effective way to use our resources.
Well, I do think it's important that we take a deep dive because, you know, in my frame of mind, what I'm hearing from the teachers and from the principals and from the schools is that those interventionalists were lifesavers. Had they not had them, I think that we would have been looking at some red and a lot more orange than we're looking at tonight. So that's one thing. And then I do think the sooner we do the data meeting, the better, because, you know, we just can't keep kicking the can down the road and then at the end of the year, oh, it's too late, we'll start again next year kind of mentality. I think I like when we have the data meetings, when we drill down. I like to see, you know, kind of hear what's going on and hear the updates. I like to make sure that as a board, we're providing that leadership and accountability and focus on education. And then the other thing I'll say is that, you know, we have pretty much spent our $6+ million in ESSER funds to help these kids get caught up from the pandemic. We're pretty much zeroing out those funds at this point. And so I think as a board, we really need to think long and hard about that. You know, how much of those funds, where did the majority of that money go to? Did it go to helping these kids get caught up from the pandemic learning loss, or did it go to covering regular expenses, supplanting our budget, and then being converted on over into some building things? And so I think those are things that we really need to dig down on. So I would like for us to, if we could, just go ahead and schedule that meeting now so we'll have it on the calendars.
I think that we should listen, take the advice of the administrators and the people that are going to be presenting the data to us. I do think that, you know, if Mr. Asher thinks that it is best to combine that meeting with this, because these are test scores from last year. We've done a lot. We've hired instructional assistants. We've gotten software. We've done a lot of things. I would like to see where we're at today because this data is old. So when is MAP data available? Or whatever the new one is?
It's iReady and MVPA at middle school. They are taking those, I believe the window opens December 2nd. So it'll be the first couple weeks of December that they'll be doing those.
Maybe schedule for January?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is January enough time for you to collect that data? And
Certainly.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
January 11th is our regular meeting, right?
We
Is it
haven't set the
January?
schedule for
Oh, we haven't
next
set
year.
the
Haven't set it
schedule,
yet?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's December 11th.
Yeah, December 11th. January would probably be more like the 22nd, probably.
Oh,
It's
I
a
don't-
holiday, so
I don't have my January schedule with me.
Yeah. I think we can, I don't know, can we shoot for the week of the 15th, I guess? That's a holiday too. Monday's a holiday there. How about Wednesday, the 17th?
That works for me.
at the board office?
At the board office.
Sure.
Yep. Is
Thank
that good for
you.
you? That's good for you, Mr. Asher, Mr. Atkins? All right, January 17th, 6 p.m. Can we do 5:30 maybe? If that would be, can everybody make
Yes.
5:30?
I would
We'll do
Prefer that.
5:30.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like to close just a couple of points. Yes, we recognize both sides of it, and I've been at this a while. It is just one test, yes, but at the same time, it is your accountability score. It is your public accountability, so we recognize both sides of that. Do not treat continuous improvement as a buzzword. I mean, that's what we encourage, that's what we continue to dig through. As to Mr. Atkins said, and I believe this, we're not average. You know, all of those dials at the overall were yellow all the way through. We know we're not average. We know we don't have average teachers or average students. So we just have to put the measures in place, put the systems in place to improve upon that. We have to, this system, as you saw that status and change, if you declined, it either really helped you or really hurt you. So if you declined, a lot of times you saw when I referenced it, pulled that dial down. We obviously need to increase going into next year to pull that dial to the right and up and show what we're truly capable of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is our public comment. We have just one public comment tonight, and it's Mr. Nathan Lauderdale. You're the only one, so you actually have 15 minutes if you want to talk to us.
Okay. First off, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you guys. Just wanted to give a little insight to programs that we offer at the Woodford Post 67 of the American Legion right downtown. One of the programs is our oratorical program. That gives students a opportunity to earn over $25,000 in scholarships. And really all they have to do is speak for 8 to 10 minutes on the Constitution, a prepared statement. That's it. And there's another part of the program where there is a non-prepared section, and I can give as much detailed information on this as you want. I spoke with, had several meetings last year with Dr. Sargent and Miss Wilson at the high school, and the ones that are eligible for this are anybody that's in high school, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. That includes homeschooled and private school. These students have an opportunity to earn, if they were to win at the 9th grade level, all the way through their high school year, they could earn over $100,000 in scholarships. Last year, we had 0 contestants here in Woodford County. That is a big miss as far as I'm concerned. And this year, what I would like to do is I wanted to bring this information to the board and let you know that this is available to all high school age students. I can give more detail or specific detail as needed. All they have to do is reach out to us or reach out to the high school counselors. They have the information. They have my contact information. It's something that, I mean, it promotes Americanism, and, you know, gives the students a chance to learn and appreciate the Constitution as much as anything else. So previous people that attended the program were Alan Keyes, Lou Dobbs, Mike Pence. I mean, that's Vice President Mike Pence. Let's see, we've got, like I said, the eligibility is 9th through 12th grade. This year, our first contest is actually January. Sorry, I apologize. Let me get my notes out here. First contest at the district level will be January 14th at 2 p.m. It's at the Lexington Public Library, the North Side branch. You're looking at 23 counties in total that are going to be a part of this competition, and I would love to see Woodford County in that competition. They have an opportunity to win at the local level anywhere from a couple of $100 to a couple of $1,000 in scholarships at the local level. So there is an opportunity for them to win scholarships. I just wanted everybody to be aware of that. Another program that we have is Boys and Girls State. Girls State is June 6-5 through 6-9 at Western Kentucky. Boys State is 6-9 through 6-14 at Western Kentucky. What that does is we take one junior graduating that's completed their junior year, going into their senior year, and that gives them the opportunity to learn about local, state, federal government. The local, state, and city, local, state, and federal government. Last year, I thought we were going to have one representative from Woodford County, but conflict came up and we couldn't get them there. Family emergencies, that sort of thing. But we haven't had a representative at Boys or Girls State in over almost 20 years. And that is another opportunity for, to earn scholarships and that sort of thing. Previous participants were President Bill Clinton, Mike Huckabee, Lou Dobbs, Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, Bruce Springsteen, Nick Saban, numerous senators, governors, congressmen, and vice presidents have all been a part of this program. So there's no sense why we can't continue on with that, especially those here from Woodford County. One last thing on the oratorical program. I don't know, a lot of people here in Woodford County are familiar with the Lodmell name. And Miss Lodmell was one of the previous runner-up at our oratorical program, and she earned over $20,000 in scholarships. So, I mean, the opportunity's there. We just need to get the word out to our students and say, hey, come earn these scholarships. It's easy money. Thank you. Y'all have any questions?
The only thing that I would ask is maybe, is there a way that we can get that information, sort of the definitions of everything and what you can get?
I have given that information over to Dr. Sargent and Miss Wilson last year, and I can do it again this year.
I'm just thinking.
Do you care to send it to me?
Yeah, and maybe we can somehow publicize this on Facebook and on the website and because, you know, we can open this up to all of the high schoolers. That could be a huge.
Yeah.
Because we have a group of great speakers in our high school. Absolutely. So I'm like you, they're missing opportunities.
Oh, big time. Big time. Because, I mean, I joke around with some other officers. I've never had such a hard time giving away free money. It's there. All you got to do is just come take it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Mr.
sir, and
Lauderdale.
thank you all for being such a great community partner as well.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it. Hey,
it.
let me know what school you want next. We'll get the flags out to them.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Glass,
Second.
second by Mr. Brickler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
The motion passes 3-2. Moving on to our regular agenda, can I have a motion to accept notification of personnel matters?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Brickler and a second by Ms. Glass. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Can I have a motion to accept notification of payment of bills?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Glass,
Second.
second by Ms. McCowan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
The motion passes 4-1. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the October 24th, 2023 and November 13th, 2023 board meetings?
So moved.
I'm sorry, was that you, Ms. McCowan? Motion by Ms. McCowan,
Second.
second by Ms. Glass. Sorry, Mr. Brickler. Gotcha. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. So next we have our audit report. And before I take a motion to approve this audit report, I will invite Mr. Tom Sparks, who is from our audit firm Summers, McCrary, and Sparks, to give us the presentation for the evening. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I want to thank the board for allowing, can I put anything down on this? There's a laptop here. I don't want to, good, okay, all right. I want to thank the board for allowing our firm to do your audit this year. I want to thank Mr. Atkins, Superintendent Atkins, and Shane Smith and their staffs for assisting our crew when we were on site. They were very efficient in getting the information we needed to get the audit done. As you all know, we got a November 15th deadline, and with everything going on, it's hard to get one out the door and get it cleaned and reviewed and everything. So anyway, we've got that done. I'm gonna hit there's a 90-some pages here. I'm just gonna hit the highlights, but if there's any questions, please let me know. The first page, the first letter in your bound blue copy is the auditor's opinion. The second paragraph, which starts with, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly. That means this is a clean report. Means we did not find any evidences of fraud or misappropriation of any of the district's resources. If there was, we could not make that statement. And then we jump into the next part of the audit, which is called the MD&A, which is the Management Discussion and Analysis. This set of the audit is a combination of management, which is your all's existing staff, and the auditors. I usually go through this because it's a nice comparative form, so you can see 2023 to 2022. The other financial statements in here are 1 year only, and you kind of say, well, I don't remember what we did in 22. So if you'll turn to page 6, you'll see the statement at the top on page 6. This is the statement of net position. So you've got 23 and 22. Now, I will tell you the basis of counting that this is on is a full accrual. Shane, do you have the ability to pull that up? Not Shane, Josh, I'm sorry. Is that to pull it up here so they can see the numbers other than what they have?
The draft was hard to read because draft was in huge letters across it, and I was like trying to peek under there. Yeah, this is much nicer.
I think we can go ahead and continue while we're trying to figure
Okay.
that out.
Yeah, I'd send a clean, you should have a clean PDF, Shane. But anyway, you got 23 to 22, and this is on a full accrual basis, which means there's journal entries that we have to make for your financial statements that when you budget, you don't have to. But our current auditing standards require us to present it in 2 methods. So in this method right here, you can see your total assets were up about $76,000. This is entirely related to construction in progress to the new school, and then the excess cash that has not been spent yet. And then down, anything where you see deferred outflows, deferred inflows, this is directly related to the state's actuary report. So each year, the actuary does a report on all of the CRS and KTRS, and there's a line item in there for Woodford County. We're required to take that information for Woodford County and put it in your audit. So this is determined by the actuaries, and we just put it in there. So this year, the deferred outflows went up $3.5 million. Down under total liabilities, it was up $75 million, and that's directly related to the bonds that was used for the new school. Deferred inflows went down $389,000, and then on your total net position, it was up $4.7 million. If you'll turn to page 7, this is a comparative statement. There again, this is on a full accrual basis of your governmental funds and your business type funds. Now, governmental funds means that's your general fund, your restricted fund, your capital outlay fund, all your funds, debt service, everything that are presented in total there. So one of the things that'll stick out is if you look up between 23 and 22, state revenues were up about $21 million. Wow, what's that? Well, the state pays monies on behalf of all the school districts, and they're called on behalf payments. This year, the amount of on behalfs that they paid for the district, it doesn't come through the district's funds, but the state pays it and they keep track of it, was that much. So that's your big increase there. And so you come down, you say, okay, if we got that money, where's it reflected? Well, if you look under your expenses, you look under instruction, most of the things that the state pays for you all are employee benefits. Is what it pays. So that'll directly hit your instruction line item. So for the year, the change in net position actually didn't change a whole lot between this year and last year. And And then if you go to the business type, this is basically your food service. You know, you have childcare as well, but that's all in there. This year to last year went down about $1.8 million, and your expenses went down about the same amount. The next report I want to bring to your attention is on pages 8 and 9. Now, this is on your budgetary basis. This may make a little more sense to you. So when you all adopt the budget, you got your preliminary budget, then your final budget, this is more on that basis of accounting. So you got your general fund, your special revenue, construction, and debt service and food service. So just a couple highlights. And on page 9 is the prior year information, so you may have to flip a little bit. But on your general fund, your state revenues went up about $5.8 million. There again, this was directly related to on behalf monies paid by the state for Woodford County. On the special revenue was up about $46,000. This was primarily federal grant monies. And then, of course, the construction, because you have not expended out that $70 million, you've made quite a bit of interest. So there's $2 million as interest that's earned on that until you spend it. And then debt service, it was up about $118,000, and that was primarily on behalf amounts that they pay for you all with the SFCC monies. If you look down at the expenses, there again, on your expense side, under your instruction, you'll see that it went up. And there again, anytime you have the state pays on behalf, most of the time it's going to be for employee benefits. Same thing on special revenue. The instruction funds expenses were up some from this year. And on the construction fund, the almost $17 million, there again, that's your payments for, as you had the gentleman going through all your construction manager, that's where it's going for the construction.
I have a question on this page if you're finished.
Yeah.
Under the comments and budget comparisons, I would just like to thank you for putting that in there. I try to highlight that when we have budget sessions and meetings, but I think it's really important, and I just want to read it so that everybody on the board and the public can hear. General fund budget compared to actual revenue varied from line item to line item, with the ending actual revenues being $2,557,524 more than budget. General fund budget compared to actual expenditures varied from line item to line item, with actual ending expenditures being $1,664,789 less than budget. The district's total general fund revenues for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023, before interfund transfers was $45,715,409, an increase of $5,805,649 from the total revenues for 2022. And again, I think that when I say it's impossible for the board and the public to have an idea of what's going on with our finances when we're given expenses in these budgets that are off by, $1 million or more, when we're given information about revenue that's off by millions. For instance, we had a meeting in May, the budget fiscal year ended in June, where we were told that our ending balance would be down around $6 million. It didn't seem right. I brought it up at the meeting in June. That was back when we were still allowed to talk about financial reports. It wasn't on the consent agenda. So I brought it up and went over kind of the information. Here's where we're sitting. Here's where we were. Can you explain that? No explanation was given in the meeting. No explanation was given in email before or after the meeting. The board didn't discuss it, but we were basically told we were going to end the year around $6 million, yet we ended at $10 million. And even if you look at our reports tonight, which we're not allowed to discuss, the beginning balance is $10 million, yet on page 4 of your audit, it says the beginning balance was 10,842,000. And so I think there are just issues with expenses and revenue being off by millions, and the board being given information that is either delayed or late. I know last year we had no idea we were going to end the year with over, 1.5 million. I mean, perhaps that would have changed the vote to add reading and math interventionists at school had we known we were going to be profiting over $1 million at year's end. I don't know if the board really knew that. We weren't told that. We have tax votes and do the maximum 4% increase before we even have discussions about this is what we have left over. These are recurring funds.
Ms. Springate, this is a discussion on the audit, not a
Right, and that's
discussion on.
the page
So we
9.
talked about that item.
Yes.
So if there's any other question on that item, I would suggest that we can move on and Mr. Sparks can finish his presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing the next pages I want to bring up to your attention is on page 13 and 15. There's a column in there called non-major governmental funds. And these are specifically laid out on page 72 and 73 of your audit. But I just want to bring your attention is what it means by non-major is each year we have to look at your funds. If you have certain level of assets or certain level of revenues, then that determines if they're major or non-major. That's all that means. And then on page 19 and 20, this is your proprietary funds, which, if you can turn to it and see, is made up of your food service, your daycare, and non-major community service. Most of your revenues and activities going to flow through your food service, needless to say. Daycare would be the next. And if you, on page 20, you can see how they ended up. Toward the bottom of the page says change in net position. The food service ended with a deficit of $329,000. The daycare had a positive of $235,000, and the community service fund had a deficit of $2.1 or $2,100. The only thing I'll bring to your attention about food service, you just want to watch that it doesn't go into the negative, because if you don't, that means your general fund is supplementing your food service. So I think your food service director, I spoke to her, we audited that program this year. And so, but just bringing that to your attention. It's still in the positive, but you got about a $75,000 leeway.
Yeah, when you say deficit, you mean decline in the fund, not necessarily that it ended in the negative.
For the year, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but if you look at total net position, it had a positive $76,000. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's sometimes I can just get away from you because you're wanting to serve the kids, get them their meals, but you kind of have to watch that.
I have a question on that. I know I asked about that at various meetings, and we were never informed by the superintendent that was going to end in deficit. I think I brought that up a couple different times. Would that be something that you think the board would be informed about?
Well, one thing you have to, at year end, there's some journal entries that are made relating to the I mentioned about the actuaries. So for the proprietary funds, your retirement and your OPEB benefits typically are not made at any district. I mean, maybe Jefferson County or Fayette County, they might make those. But most of the districts we audit, they wait till we get on staff, site, we make the journal entries for them, they post them. Well, those pension journal entries and the OPEB journal entries are huge. So those are reflected in here. So you would not see those in your normal budgeting hours, but you do at year end.
So do you know how much that was an impact here? Because that would be a non-operating expense that our food service has zero control over. And I would not expect, again, I don't think anybody would expect Mr. Smith to be recalculating and getting OPEB and retirement estimates every month for us.
I did not bring that work paper.
Okay.
But I have sent those, Shane does have those journal entries.
Okay.
We are required, because on the proprietary funds, they do have to go into your final AFR that is submitted by November the 15th and, accepted by the state. So I just don't remember offhand.
Are these book journal entries then into Munis?
Yes.
They're not just
Yes.
adjustments?
Yes, for the proprietary fund.
Yeah.
Now, your other funds that we have to do the OPEB and the pension, they are not.
They're not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it's probably something we need to have a discussion about. We've changed how we do food service. We're on a community program now this year. And I know I had asked about that because, you never want to end in the negative. I don't know that we've ended in the negative with our food service fund since I've been on the board, except this year. So that's concerning. And now that we're doing that a little bit differently with the community feeding program where everyone gets free meals, I think that'll have a huge impact on the revenue there. And I'm not sure about the expenditures, but that's definitely something I had mentioned that I thought we should keep an eye on last year, because I'm just a layperson and I could kind of see that was not going well. Thank you.
I will just, the issue with the OPEB and the CERS, because all of your food service people are non-certified, so they would be under the CRS retirement program. KD understands that these are going to be large adjustments each year. Now, I will flip to the positive side of things is, if you look up on page 19 on the food service had $624,000 in cash. So there's plenty of cash there. When I made the comment, just watch it, I'm just saying, just keep an eye on it. But, a lot of the districts we do will end with a deficit fund balance because of these CERS, year-end CRS and OPEB journal entries, which no district has any control over. The actuary determines these, and it goes up and down every year. But, the food service does have a lot of money. The daycare has $699,000. So, there's a lot of cash there, but you just want to keep an eye on it. I may have alarmed you all.
No, that's
No,
good.
we
Thank you for the
appreciate-
clarification.
we
'Cause I think
appreciate
that
the
helped a lot,
information.
actually.
I'm looking at our audit from last year, and the change in net position last year was positive $390,000 on this same line item. So I think that's good that last year it was good, and I appreciate knowing this year that we should watch. Thanks.
So on the next part of the audit is the notes to the financial statement. It starts on page 22, goes all the way to page 61. I'm only going to hit some highlights for you, just kind of let you know what's coming up. On page 32 and 33, I was talking to Shane about this. I think the people in New York that sets the government accounting standards just think nobody else has anything to do, and they keep coming up with these each and every year. So there was a new one beside the lease standard, which came in last year. They now came up with this new one called subscription-based information technology arrangements. And basically what this meant is now you have to take a look at each of your technology agreements. If they are more than 1 year in length, they now have to be put on your financial statements as a right-to-use asset. And then a liability has to be put on the books. Normally, you just expense them, you didn't worry about them. So some districts that we implemented it did have them, some didn't, but I'm just letting you know that was implemented this year. And on note number 18, which is in the back of the notes, we present how it impacted your financial statements. On page 36 and 37, page 34, just want to point out up under the additions, you'll see construction progress at $18 million. That's the high school. That's your high school. And then on page 36 and 37, just kind of a snapshot. 36 shows all of your existing debt for the district as of June 30th, 23. And then if you look at page 37, toward the middle of the page, this kind of shows you where you were coming into the year, your additions, how much was repaid in your debt, and then your ending balances. And then what's going to be forecasted to be done, have to be paid in 2024. Now, I'm just going to give you some snapshots because we talked about it and it does have a huge impact on your financials. But on page 41, and this information again comes directly out of your actuary's report. If you look at page 41 down at the bottom, the district's proportionate share of the CRS net pension liability, this is Woodford County alone, was $16 million. Now, how did that compare to last year? Let's see, last year you all were at 15 million. So, you know, there again, it went up about $1.6 million over the prior year. Then on page 47 is the, get over there. On page 47, in the middle of the page, you'll see at June 30, 2023, the district reported a liability of $4.3 million. This is the OPEB liability of Woodford counties alone this year. And that actually went down to about $212,000. That's pretty good, but it's going to ebb and flow each year depending on how many new people come in, how many people go out of the system. And then on page 52, the last component of all this retirement items, this is the, 52. This is the KTRS, okay? Now, and this is only the OPEB. The liability for the teachers sits on the state's books and not on the district's books. But the OPEB liability associated with the teachers fall down on the district. Don't ask me why, but that's what the standards said. So the district's teachers' OPEB was $9.7 million. That compares to 6.5 last year, so that's up about $3.2 million. And there again, you all have no control over this at all, none whatsoever. And that's why it's not on your budgetary basis, thank goodness. If you turn to page 61, there, you know, I talked about this, a new GASB 96 on the subscription. So we took a look at all of your existing your information technology agreements. And when we looked at them, none of them had a material impact that they had to be implemented. But this has to be looked at each and every year, just like the leases. Each and every year it has to be looked at. So it could have an impact on future statements. Let's see. The next part of the audit, 62 to 71, these are required supplemental information. These reports come directly out of the actuary's report. Those actuary reports are actually on the Kentucky pension plan. They have those for all the years. So it's very thick. But anyway, all these are taken directly from them and are included in your audit. I mentioned earlier page 72 and 73, this is your non-major programs. If you had an interest in to see, you know, how they ended up for the year. On page 73, you can look and see, and some of these are going to be natural that you understand, but, you know, the capital outlay had a deficit of, you know, $1 million, but those funds are, that's what they're supposed to do. They come in and go out. The building fund, same way, 1.2 million is to come in and it's to be used for building. District activity fund had a surplus of $19 million, and the student activity fund had a surplus of $26 million. So,
It's 19,000 and 26,000, right?
19,000 and 26, yes. Yeah, just add some
Be great.
digits, you know, yeah. Yeah. It's just some zeros, yeah. For those that are interested, on page 74 is a snapshot of how each of your schools ended for the year. Of course, in most districts, your high schools are always going to have the most money in them. We are required in our auditor's contract to look at the Red Book standards, which, you know, we do in every district, and we did have some things that we'll point out here in a minute, which we do in most of our districts. It's just hard with having new bookkeepers, trying to get them trained. They're going to miss stuff until they learn all the rules. Now, that being said, I will, on page 78 and 79 is the total amount of federal funds that were expended in the district for the year. The biggest one is your ESSER ARPA monies. It was $2.2 million this year compared to $2.6 million last year. That money's it's going to run out. I think September of 2024 is when all that money has to be expended, and there's no more of that coming down the pike, to our knowledge. Now, on page 82, get over there. Okay, page 82, up at the top, the first paragraph. We are required to check in our auditor's contract. There's a bunch of, and it grows every year, a lot of state requirements that we have to look at when we do an audit. We did have one state level auditor or finding this year. It's 20-23-001. That is specifically spelled out on page 87 of the report, if you want to turn there. And this dealt with payroll items. You know, you can see there's 5 different issues related to, you know, payroll. And I think you had some staffing changes there maybe going on during the year, so that kind of makes sense. But anyway, these are the things that we had to check for, and these are the things that will have to be responded to, which the response is down their list of views of responsible officials and the planned corrective action.
Do you know, I know on some of these it says if what happened the prior year. So was this an issue last year too, or is this just the first year this has been an issue?
So if you look at the prior year, which is on page 88, there was an issue with the person getting paid that was not paid in accordance to the approved single salary schedule, which is one of our state audit requirements we're required to check.
And that was just one instance that you found?
That was one instance
Yeah.
last year, that's correct. Now, needless to say, we sample. I mean, we would be here, we'd still be here auditing if we were looking at every single thing, but yeah, that was on a sample basis.
Gotcha.
And then we do say that we did not have that specific finding this year, as far as that's concerned. There were some other issues, but not that. And then on page 90 through 92, all right, so these are what's called management comments. So management comments, they're not findings, but they could elevate maybe to a finding if they're not looked at. At the board level, we had an issue, or not issue, but we said, you know, the cash accounts were not reconciled, you know, during the year on a regular basis. You know, payroll had 2 employees' files that could not be found. Accounts payable were being posted, reversed in the wrong periods. And so, you know, these things could elevate to be more significant if they're not dealt with.
Well, and I will say that some of these things that you found are really consistent with what I see month to month on our financial reports. Just, you know, things are just, you know, off and inaccurate. So I appreciate you putting those in there. Thank you.
And I think that's also very consistent with the level of turnover that we've had in the department too, just training.
And then at the school activity funds, so at the high school, we had an issue with the credit card was not returned the next day after it was used. You know, got to watch those credit cards. And then at the middle school, cash receipts, we found several instances where it wasn't signed by the preparer. You just want to make sure, you know, if that money comes in, we got to have somebody that signed off on it. And then on the next page, on page 91, this again is a middle school thing. You know, you have the standard invoice, and so that standard invoice needs to be signed. So we found, you know, a couple instances there. At Northside, we found an invoice that was paid which exceeded the approved purchase order. That could happen, you know, with shipping cost or handling cost, those kind of things. But you still probably ought to go back and amend that standard invoice to, you know, match if that happens. A lot of districts adopted a 10% rule with their standard invoice, and, in fact, I think Woodford County, you have that rule. So this was in excess of that. And then Southside, cash receipts, we found that the receipt numbers were not being identified on the deposit slip, which that's a requirement. So, and then on page 91 and 93, 92 and 93. This is the status of your prior year. In other words, is it still an issue or not an issue? So at the very top on page 92, there was no similar instances found. In the middle school, there was no similar instances found relating to these specific items. In fact, I think we didn't find any repeats, which is good. Yeah, we didn't find any repeat findings. So there again, when you have your change turnover in your bookkeepers, you're going to have mistakes. But you just hope they stay with you, you get them trained, and then they, fix them.
And these are helpful because, like you said, these are not actual audit findings. They do
Yes.
not impact the financial statements, but they are just kind of a warning and something that we need to focus on
Yes.
so that they can avoid that. So
Yes, yes.
I think this is obviously very helpful for the schools to see this.
What about-
And the red book is so difficult, oh my
yeah.
goodness.
What about at the bottom of page 91, the finding for the board?
Yeah, that was not a repeat finding. Yeah, the only thing with that is, it's not really, it's more of a cash flow issue. You know, some districts will borrow money from their other funds, and that wasn't the case here. It's just the state kind of likes to see you to make that regular federal cash request, to come in on a monthly basis. But that was last year, but I think there again, you had a lot of transition, but we did not have that this year.
Thank you.
I know I went through this very quickly, a lot of stuff here. I am available for any calls. You can call me, email me, whatever you'd like to do. I'll be answering any questions. We did get the audit submitted timely by November 15th with KDE, and to our knowledge, it's been accepted. The next thing that will happen is you have a data collection report relating to your federal funds that has to be done. We're in the process of that. I sent to all the districts we did. There's a new website the feds created that those now have to go into. You can't use the old website, so you have to get in new login numbers, but we're all set up to get that going.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
So if this was already submitted to KDE, do we still need to approve it now, 5 days later, or
Well,
what's going on there?
well, here's what's going on there. KDE is inflexible with the November 15th deadline. If you did not have it submitted, they're gonna come down on the board. Why wasn't it submitted? There's no way that any districts we've ever done that can get it done in time and finished up with all the requirements. So what happens is, let's get in compliance. If there's issue that let's just say tonight the board said, we don't approve the audit, we're not accepting it. Okay, well then, we'd have to communicate that to KDE, said, yes, we submitted it timely, but they did not approve the audit. And then KDE would come back to the district and say, what's the problem?
Do you have other districts that haven't approved this by the November 15th deadline?
Yes, all of ours. This is the second presentation I've done. I've got 6 more to do. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, there's just no way that you can get these all done in a timely manner with fall breaks, vacations, people getting sick. I mean, there's just no way. There's just too much compliance, federal compliance, state compliance. As I told Shane, I said, this is just almost getting, I've been doing this for 42 years, and I'm going like, it's not getting easier. Even though with AI, come on AI, come on. It's not getting any easier, but yes, that's my understanding of the process.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And I would like to note, everybody got a letter, the management representation letter here, and that has all of the contact information for anybody at the accounting firm.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Other questions?
I had a couple comments.
Yeah.
Just, I'm really appreciative that you shared that there weren't a lot of repeat offenses from last year. I know we had some new ones, but we put in steps for recruitment, retention, enhancing that staff. So hopefully we'll see that continue as they solidify their education and training. Also, you started this off with a really important statement when you talked about that second paragraph of, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to. Can you just reiterate what that statement means for this audit?
Yeah, so auditors only have certain levels of reports they can issue. They can issue a what's called unmodified, which is what you all have, which means a clean report. A qualified, which means we found something, it's got to be addressed, or an adverse, which means bad. Bad stuff's going on. So that's the three levels that we can report. And if it was a qualified or an adverse, it would be up in that front letter what all the issues were. And you would be required to respond how you're going to deal with those. So when we say present fairly, it means it's unmodified, means we did not have any issues that we'd had to put a qualification or an adverse paragraph to your opinion letter.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
I have one quick question, just because I've not really, I'm newer to the board. But one of the things that I read, and it was in the attachments that were included with the agenda, but I can't pull it up in this booklet, but it just said something in regard to based on your net position. That would, that's how you would assess sort of the trajectory of your financial health of the district. Am I summarizing that okay, or is that
I'm just
about
saying,
correct?
yeah, so the net position, if you look at the financial statement up in the MD&A, so on page 7, and if you look at there under the governmental or the business type, you'll see a line item that says ending net position. So if those are positive, that's good.
Or have gone up over the
Or if
previous
they've
year?
gone up over previous, that's good. If they're negative, something's going on. We got to see what's going on with that.
Okay,
So there's where your net position, the statement comes from.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Sparks. That was actually very helpful, very helpful. Thank you.
Like I say, any other questions, please feel free to contact me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve the audit report?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Glass,
Second?
second by Ms. McCowan. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Thank you all. Next item is to approve creation of position. We have Ms. Johnson on her way up.
Francis is not here today. This is for a special needs child we have in our district, just came in, needs some adult assistance in our preschool and special education as well, so.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Glass,
Second.
second by Mr. Brickler. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have a 403B. Is this, what is the motion here?
It would be to approve,
To
move
approve
forward with
the 403B modifications or the plan in total?
plan in total.
Okay.
So there are two plans though, and I think we need to just briefly go through those. I presented last month a plan that the board would do a 5% match on the contribution of the employee. And after meeting with our American Fidelity and 403B rep and looking at some of the other plan options available, it's really probably better for the employees, the entry-level employees especially, because of, he said that typically a lot of the employees will do the base level match, which I think is $250 if I remember correctly. And so going with this dollar for dollar match up to 1% of compensation maximizes that match for the folks that will do that minimum match. And so having said that, I did on the PowerPoint, Dr. Rayburn, if you could pull up the page that looks like this on the PowerPoint. There should have been a PowerPoint attached to that. Well,
You can just tell us. I mean, you attached the document, so we understand
okay.
the two options.
So the option is a 100% match on the contribution up to 1% of compensation. And so if you compare the 5% versus the 1%, it's a lower cap. So at the 5%, at a 50% participation, the district would be obligated $461,000. At the 1% of compensation, the max for the district would be $151,000. So that's significantly lower obligation to the district. But if you look at the lower tier, the lowest tier of participation, with our current participants at the 5% match, it would only cost the district $3,900. Where at the 100% of 1% of compensation, it would cost the district $30,000. So I think that table really reflects the better engagement to the folks that are just getting into the program, that are at the entry level amounts of the contribution. And so that is the plan that the American Fidelity rep and I came away from, that we want to recommend for you guys to approve. I think that's going to be the better plan for our employees and increase that amount of engagement and hopefully retention at some point. So that's really the only difference in it. And so I provided two plan documents. One's the 5% match of contribution. The other one's the 100% of contribution up to 1% of salary. And so that would be up to you to approve.
So your recommendation, though, is for the 1% plan?
It is correct.
Okay.
Just a couple of things. So a question was asked, if someone is already doing a Kentucky Deferred Comp, we can also match that. It just has to be matched through an American Fidelity 403B. There's just no mechanism in place for us to match it through the Kentucky Deferred Comp Plan. So we can match these alternative contributions. We just have to match it through a 403B in a individual's own account. So
So it would be a separate account from what the original contribution was in?
that's correct.
Okay.
And we talked, the employee would have to be actively employed with the district as of 6/30 at the end of every fiscal year to be eligible to receive the contribution. And basically everything else that I presented last month is the same, other than the actual contribution from the district. So
Great. Any question? Well, I guess I'll take a motion first, and then we'll have some discussion. Is there a motion to approve the 100% match up to 1% of compensation program?
So moved.
Second.
That was a motion by Ms. McCowan and a second by Ms. Glass. Any further discussion or questions for Mr. Smith? The only thing I would say is I think this is a great opportunity for our employees, and it's going to be another retention benefit, and hopefully it will set us apart a little bit from surrounding districts. I think this is a great thing we can do for our employees. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, so that gets us to our discussion items. Our first item is the 2024-2025 instructional calendar. And Mr. Wells can come up and speak to us on that one.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Since we talked last time, we've met as a committee, we've surveyed, and we've met again. And so tonight you've got before you two recommendations. We're required by statute to give you multiple calendars to consider, so that's why you have two. And I'm just going to briefly explain both of them. I'm going to start off with option 2 because that's just the simplest to explain. Option 2 is essentially the exact same calendar that we have this year. Same number of days, same number of staff work days, everything is exactly the same, except, and this is reflected in both calendars, the August staff work day, which this year was a couple weeks into school to kind of give our teachers time to, okay, we've been in school a few weeks, let's see where we're at, let's get our legs back underneath us. The parents on the committee actually suggested that we move that staff work day a week later. And so instead of having 2 3-day weekends in a row, you would have one 4-day weekend, the families would, because of Labor Day. Now, our staff would still be working on that Friday, so it'd still be a 3-day weekend for them, but it gives our families a 4-day weekend to do whatever they choose to do with. So that is option 2. Option 1, and this is the option that the committee is recommending, it's still very similar to this year. The main difference is it adds 1 additional staff work day, and that would be added at winter break next year. I don't believe the intent would be for this to be a recurring thing, but just kind of given the discussion around the new high school and when it will probably be ready, there was a push from the teachers, specifically the high school teachers on the committee, to have an extra staff work day over winter break to give them another day to get moved, to get acclimated to their new surroundings, to get families acclimated to their new surroundings. And so in doing that, because we're not changing employment contracts, in doing that, we would have to remove 1 student day from the calendar to make that a staff work day. And the other ripple effect to that would be, to make sure that we meet state calendar requirements, is the last day of school could not be early release. It would have to be a full day. So option draft 1, what the committee is recommending, is to add a second staff work day over winter break and make the last day of the school year a full day, thus enabling us to meet calendar requirements.
So would that be in the December 23rd to January 7th period? We would add a day into when exactly? It says winter break, December 23rd to January 7th.
So you've got January 6th.
I see. Okay, gotcha.
The 2 staff work days.
Gotcha.
And by the way, I will say the feedback we've gotten for the board approving the staff work days has been incredible. Just every time we've had a couple so far, and teachers reach out just so thankful. Employees, not just teachers, but employees reach out so thankful that they've been given the opportunity and the recognition that they have work to do that it's very difficult to do. We had teachers on the committee talk about, like, I would have been coming in on the weekend, coming back from fall break if I did not have that day, and thank you so much. So thank you, board, for putting those in the calendar.
I've heard a lot of the similar feedback too, and I mean, one of the things we need to provide is work-life balance. I mean, and that is a way that we can do that, so that they're not coming in on weekends or using their break time. I mean, these breaks are for them as well. So yeah, I'm happy to hear that feedback as well.
So tonight, we are just listing out the two options. Are there any questions, comments on these 2 options? And then next month, we will vote on.
Correct. Tonight, we're just presenting our 2 drafts, and then the board would vote at another meeting, which would be December.
Okay.
I have a quick question about the last day of school. Was our last day of school this past year also modified based on some of the days that we got out for, like, the Sweet 16?
So the last day of the school year, this past school year, was initially an early release day, but the calendar was amended to make it a full day, yes.
Okay.
Which enabled us to not have to make up a day.
Right.
Yes.
Are there any unintended consequences of making that? I mean, I know that we probably have a ton of absenteeism on the last day, but I mean, is that?
I think that goes if it's half or full, right?
Right. So does it matter, I guess? I mean, I know it matters, but I guess what I'm trying to say from a
Sure.
days that count
Yeah.
kind of thing, does it get us into any kind of predicament?
We talked about that in the committee, a couple things. Whether we make the last day of the school year an early release or not, I think our families are going to make it an early release day for them. And so it does have an implication on our attendance. Keep in mind, we do get to, I think it's the lowest 5 days we get to take off. So if it was one of those low 5 days, we could take that off. Does it give a little less flexibility to the superintendent? It does. Because just for that example for last year. So there are some things to think about. There are some implications to that. But with next year, our last scheduled day would be Tuesday. I don't believe, it would be Tuesday. And so that gives Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the last week of school, President's Day, the PD Day in March, and and then all the NTI days. So there's still a lot of flexibility afforded the superintendent. But to answer your question, I mean, those are the two main implications, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Okay, next up on discussion is our LifeWise discussion.
Good evening. Everybody can hear me all right. It's good to be here. My name is Joel Huber, and I'm a resident of Woodford County. And joining us tonight via video conference is Ron Reiticher, who is with LifeWise Academy. And LifeWise is the program that we will be presenting to you this evening. What is LifeWise? Simply put, it is a Christian ministry that provides Bible education to public school students during school hours. That this program offers Bible education during school hours is what sets it apart from all the rest, which are offered to students either before or after school, where some, but not all, may be able to participate. LifeWise meets a need and offers a solution for all students, and it does so at no cost to the school or to participating families. Why LifeWise? Why do we need LifeWise? That's probably the first question that you have, and my answer is simply this. I know the greatest teacher that students could ever have. There is none greater alive today. There never has been any greater, and there never will be any greater than him. That's not me. His name is Jesus Christ, and he is the Good Shepherd. And I know that his path is the only one that leads us to eternal life. That's the path that he desires for all his children. And that's the promise that only he can keep and will keep if we put our trust in him. What's the first step? So how do we get started? What do we do? The first step is for us to know him, to know who Jesus is, to know his plan and to follow it. He has given us everything that we need in his word, the Bible. In his own words, and this is from John chapter 8, verses 31 and 32. If ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. How do we do that? How do we teach the Bible in our schools? The answer, unfortunately, today is that we don't. Not yet, anyway. And that's where LifeWise comes in. I'm going to turn things over to Ron now and let him tell you a little bit more about LifeWise and how it works. But before I do, I want to leave you with a couple passages, both from the book of Psalms. The first is a prayer for our school district, for our students, for our teachers, our administration, our board, and for our entire community. And the second is a promise of blessing. It is my hope that we may all know his blessing, and his blessing will follow our obedience to him, because he will always keep his word. So from the book of Psalms, chapter 25, verses 4 and 5, here's the prayer. Show me thy ways, O Lord. Teach me thy paths. Lead me in thy truth and teach me, for thou art the God of my salvation. On thee do I wait all the day. And here's the promise. This is from Psalm chapter 34, verse 8. O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him. Ron, I'll let you take it from there.
All right, thank you, Joel. Let me, can you guys see a presentation okay?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, and apologize, it seems like it's frozen right now. Well, I'm trying to work on that. First of all, I just want to say thank you for for the time to be able to present to you guys tonight. As Joel said, my name is Ron, and for some reason, this thing is stuck. So hold on a second. Let's see if we can make this happen. There we go. Sorry about that. And I'm joining you from Columbus, Ohio. Thanks, Dr. Abram, for the technology and getting things all set up.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, there's nothing being shared right now.
All right, let's try it again. Are we up now?
Now we can see it, yes.
Okay, great. So I was saying, joining you from Columbus, Ohio. I'm coming to you after a career of public education, 9 as a teacher and 31 in different administrative roles. So I've had the opportunity to attend board meetings for 31 years and a survivor. So I'm just happy to be with you guys tonight. As Joel said, he learned about LifeWise not too long ago, and I'm considered a program coach with LifeWise that works with the local community to see if this is a good fit for their community. And I just wanted to share with you a couple things tonight about what's happened so far and what's going on now, and then where would we like to go. And then I'll obviously give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions at the end. So I'll jump right into the presentation here and just tell you that LifeWise actually originated in 2018, started in Ohio, and born from an old Ohio State Buckeye football player that was involved in doing public presentations to public school students on character education during the school day. And then in the evening would invite the students back to possibly a church or an offsite location, and actually then share the gospel message with them. And his hometown, Van Wert, Ohio, heard about the 1952 United States Supreme Court ruling on release time religious instruction that allowed for religious instruction during the school day. And they opened up a program to their surprise, really within a couple years. They were serving 95% of their elementary students. And that group then reached out to Joel as a hometown guy and said, hey, you are involved in public education and do character education assemblies for them. We can't figure out why this isn't in other locations. As we look around, we only see very few people that are taking advantage of this. And so he went to work and found out that really there were a lot of barriers to entry, and tried to put together then a program which he called LifeWise to try to help communities do this and put all the resources that they needed under one roof and what we call the plug and play model. And a big portion of what we try to do is to keep things legal with that Supreme Court ruling, keep it simple and practical. And just to give you a little idea of what it means to keep it legal, we really work hard to stay above all federal, state, and local school policies that are in effect to keep religious and public institutions separate as required by the Constitution. We keep it simple by focusing on the central message of the Bible, the foundational themes that speak to common issues of all people, and that can actually reach across denominational lines, and again, just stick with the central message of the Bible. And we keep it practical because we want it to be something that's lasting in the school, something that's lasting in the community and for the students, so that they're motivated to make the instruction that they receive very actionable, to put that instruction into action. So you may be asking, well, why are we coming to the school and asking about release time religious instruction? And we really found out through the research and through the many programs that have opened up already across 11 different states that it benefits students. Research has shown that there's improved academic and improved behavioral outcomes in students that have been involved in release time programs. It benefits the school to reinforce character development and improve mental health that I know your schools are doing on a regular basis to try to make great citizens. So it's another reinforcement of the things they're learning through the school. And as Joel kind of mentioned, the only other piece that's added is really the central themes of the Bible that you cannot do within the walls of the schools on a legal basis. And then, of course, it benefits the community. We've seen communities that have developed, and everybody wants to develop stronger families, stronger businesses, stronger organizations by turning out well-rounded students. So they would benefit from a higher level of moral standing and also character development. So where we're at, kind of personalized to Woodford right now. So initially, and I want to show you a graphic of our 10-step launch process and just share with you that right now Woodford is at step 6. And I just want to walk through the steps so you kind of know where things have been. So initially, someone from your community contacted LifeWise and said, hey, this seems like a good thing and would be good for our community. And then they were given the task of trying to at least accomplish to get 50 signatures from people to say they would agree that this could be something beneficial for our community. So that was accomplished. And then step 2 would be to join a kickoff meeting so they'd learn a little bit more about this process that I'm talking to you guys about as well. Third step was to raise $500 to offset some of the fees at LifeWise when it comes to web design, my fees as a program coach, and initially to say that the community is throwing their hat in the ring, that they're ready to move ahead with the process. Step 4 then was to form a steering committee, which Joel's been a part of, along with some other individuals, and we highly recommend that it would be a steering committee that would be comprised of multiple churches across the community so that it would really have a well-represented community and a kind of a body of Christ approach. The next thing to do was to draft a plan, kind of doing homework, looking at the community, looking at what we call the lowest hanging fruit within the community to say that in order to keep this legal, it has to be off school site, it has to be privately funded, and with parent permission. So it's to do the homework to say, where could we host it? Who would partner with us to be able to do that? And start to look at the potential funding structure that it would require. And right now, as I said, we're in step 6, where we're kind of approaching the school, talking and answering questions, asking questions to see how it might work within your community. And then just buzzing through the rest of it, once a community and a school obtains that acknowledgement, it's time to move ahead and recruit the team and train the team before it actually gets launched. So that's our 10-step process. So in 2023 and 2024, right now, LifeWise is serving over 25,000 students in programs across 11 different states. There's 276 live programs as of today, and there's an additional 70 that are confirmed to launch by the end of the school year. So locally, the thought is that a program could fairly easily be launched at Northside Elementary, and then future plans would include expansion into different elementary schools as trust is gained and as the program takes hold. One thing that we found through the programs that are already in existence is that wherever they start, they have all increased in popularity and the number of students that are served. So I know the long-term vision of if it's possible and it seems like it would make sense within the community, we'd like to move into the other elementary schools as well. And just a side note, there is programming for middle school and for high school students as well. So I just thought I'd throw in a couple questions that kind of commonly get asked and just roll through those real quick before we stop and have a question and answer session for you guys. Often pops up, what about liability? And in a nutshell, LifeWise carries liability insurance from the time the students would leave the school door until they return. And that assumption for a liability is all on the LifeWise policy that is in existence. We really try to stick and adhere to pretty strict safety and security protocols along the way. How do we ensure that students are safe before, during, and after each class? We really try to mirror what's going on within the local community, try to mirror as many of those policies that are possible for the benefits of the students and for the people in the community. And all of our employees are, anyone that's working with the students are background checked. They receive additional child safety training, and those background screenings can definitely be provided upon request. What about teachers? How does LifeWise oversee their individual teachers? Are there any set standards? The answer is there is an application process, and we do have a teacher training process that they go through as well. And it can be located and found at lifewise.org under the teacher application process. But just to let you know that they do go through training. And actually, there's a large body of actual retired teachers that get involved with the LifeWise program that do have the extensive training in order for them to be teachers as well. How does each LifeWise program oversee their individual teachers? Are there any set standards? And kind of as I mentioned, they do receive training and additional ongoing professional development opportunities similar to what you might find in a public school district. And they do go through teacher evaluations on a yearly basis, similar to what you might find in your own school district. What about the schedule? How does it fit into the school schedule? And again, as Joel kind of emphasized, this is a program that's offered in conjunction with that Supreme Court ruling of during the school day. And I can tell you that as each program has opened up, the schedule varies in accord with each school district. Schools have widely varying schedules, and we try to work hand in hand with the school to try to figure out the best time that it can be utilized within the school day, staying away from any mandatory core curriculum classes. There's quite a variety of ways it has fit into the school schedules, from into specials rotations, into study halls, into what are considered like the non-instructional times of the school day. We've also had programs that have operated over the lunch and recess time, but that will be done in conjunction with the local community. Well, another concern is there's no time for LifeWise because we don't want to devalue our special schedules. And again, if that would be the wishes of the local community, we would look at other options to be able to fit the LifeWise program into the schedule. And we just simply encourage schools to allow parents to choose what's best for their child with this program. Question pops up. So if we would offer LifeWise, won't that allow other programs to be offered as well? And the Supreme Court ruling was in relationship to all religions, not just the Christian religion as LifeWise represents, but it does represent all religions. And it is possible that other programs could spring up. We believe wholeheartedly in the value of the local community, and that parents would make the best decision for their kids. So where would we host it? It has to be off-site. There's a variety of different things that communities have done, from community buildings to modular buildings to housing it in churches, renovating homes, and even new builds. But the key is really the proximity and the closeness to the school, and the safety concerns that whatever facility might present would be in conjunction again with the program overall to make sure that it is an appropriate and safe location. So just real quick, the impact and how do we know that this program is working? We have had the opportunity to evaluate through surveys for current educators that are involved with the program, and also parents. And you'll see the red highlighted bullets that our feedback has been that 76% of educators agree that the school and the students benefit from the program. Same percentage are satisfied with the way that the school schedule had been worked out, and that 65% of the educators report seeing a positive impact on the outlook, the attitude, and the motivation of the students that have been involved in the program. Parents, on the other side, the black bullet points, 96% of them actually recommended that they would recommend it to other parents for their kids, and that 77% of them stated that it helped make their child make better decisions. In accord with the Supreme Court ruling, one of the lines in most of the laws across the states in our nation, it says that schools can neither endorse or discourage participation, and therefore it makes kind of some solid data hard to extrapolate from schools. However, we have entered into some agreements with certain school districts to be able to provide information back, and we're currently in that process in hopes to get some more data that's kind of more hard by the numbers in the near future, hopefully. And then I would just like to stop there, not dominate the time, and just ask and open up the floor either for Joel or myself for any questions that you guys might have.
Are there any further questions?
I have some, but they're not in any particular order. So I'm just going to start. So I guess I was thinking about LifeWise in terms of a high school, being present at the high school or something. So is it structured like an elective course? And do kids earn credit on their transcripts for taking this? Is it like a course? Is that how you would describe it? One class?
Yeah, so great question. Yeah, at the high school level, obviously it runs into a little bit different type of standards, because if you are going to offer it as an elective, obviously you have a certified teacher that's there to be able to do that. And that would be done in conjunction with, your administration, making sure that the class is vetted so that it could receive credit. So that possibility is there. We also do have an agreement with Ohio Christian University that allows for participation for college credit. And the same rules would apply. It would have to be off-site, privately funded, in those types of situations. And we also just launched an actual high school curriculum through LifeWise, where you could have students participate for credit as well.
Okay. Let's see. Are there any districts in Kentucky that are currently participating with LifeWise?
Yeah, great question too. Two other communities right now in Kentucky, Jessamine County and Fayette County, are actually in the same step that I just described that you guys are in. So those are the three programs that are the furthest along in Kentucky. As I mentioned earlier, obviously because of the hometown effect with Joel, our CEO, the program started in Ohio and is now spread to 11 different states. There's actually interest in all 50 states, but those two programs would kind of be running neck and neck as far as in Kentucky.
Okay. And what would the cost be?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. First of all, there's absolutely no cost to the school district whatsoever. It's a free program. There'd be no cost to any parent that would want their child to participate either. All of the funding would go through the local LifeWise community itself, where it would be a matter of funding privately. And what we've seen in those cases are most of the funds come from either churches, individuals, or businesses, sometimes foundations that would fund that program. So just to reiterate, absolutely no cost to anybody that wants to participate. And as far as the cost itself, you saw on the graphic there's an initial $500. There's another $2,500 that actually gets assessed. That's a one-time fee for the LifeWise community to raise, and that would include the training for those people that are hired, and also includes materials for their first classroom as it's opened up. And then as far as ongoing cost, again, those are all one-time fees that I just described. Then each student that would attend LifeWise actually is assessed a $20 fee that covers liability insurance, background information, and then also access to the curriculum. And again, that's a per student charge that is not charged to the families, not charged to the students, but it's on the back of the local LifeWise program to raise.
And how long is the course? So when you take a group of students off campus, how long? What's the duration of time?
Yeah, that varies from location to location based on what makes sense and how it would fit into the curriculum. What I would tell you there is that we have programs that operate from about a 35-minute time frame up to 90 minutes, and that's on a weekly basis, so the students really attend once a week. The 90-minute situation just happened to be a district that didn't have access to the kids on a weekly basis, but they did every other week just because of the nuances of the schedule. So I would say on average, the time that students usually are attending class is anywhere from 40 to 45 minutes. That would be an average time frame, and again, once a week.
That's all. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Nope. Miss McCown had my question. I
Yeah,
had the
she
same
had mine
question.
as well, so.
Actually, one other thing, and maybe you were kind of getting at, as far as the duration, like the time each week, but like, is it a semester-long thing, or do the students just continue to go until they don't want to go? Like, you know, kind of like, what's the school year type?
Yeah, great question. So, yeah, let me just answer the last part first. Any student that would want to go, and let's say it just didn't fit them, they could actually just drop out at any time that they wanted to. The same thing happens again in conjunction with how to work this out with the school. When does a student start? That could really happen in again a preset, predetermined time frame that would make sense with the school. Most of the programs are in the elementary. However, we do have, again, the middle school and the high school curriculums. The curriculum's set up to be a 5-year span from Genesis to Revelation, so you'd be able to walk through the Bible in that time frame. It's also divided up into tons of different options and tons of different sequences, so that if your program would open up in the fall, obviously you would follow the fall track. We have some programs that open up in January, and there's a different track for that. We have some programs that would open up in the spring, and there's a different track for that. It really allows a lot of choice as far as the lessons that would be available. And it's also set up that each one of the lessons are really self-contained within themselves, is that they have the Bible story, they have the character traits, and you can really pick and choose based on the time frame that you're allowed or given from the local community. So there's a lot of flexibility within what's being published.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, if I could, just one last thing. So what our ask would be is really to just acknowledge to the local community that they could move forward to hire, discuss schedule options, and obviously to be able to raise some funds so they can secure a facility. And I'll turn that responsibility back over to Joel, and just thank you guys for your time and consideration, and hopefully Joel can reach back out and determine some next steps. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Atkins, I'll plan to just reach out to you and follow up, and we look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a quick discussion, just an update on the sidewalk for the Legend subdivision. We did have some movement on the discussions that we had last month. No action we have nothing on as an action item this month, but we wanted to give the public just an update on what's happening right now. So Ms. McCowan, I'll let you.
Yeah, I can start. I know that some of the action items the main one was really to connect with KDE and find out if there were any kind of parameters or anything that we needed to be mindful of in opening up the access from the Legend subdivision to the back of Southside School. Shane, did you hear from them?
So I did. They really declined to comment on it. They said that's really more of a safety concern that we'd have to take up with the Office of Safety. I'm not sure exactly the title, but they didn't really have much comment otherwise. I did speak to our architect about what would be entailed if we just wanted to create an opening there. And so, and they're pretty confident that if we just wanted to make it a maintenance project where we created an opening in that fence, removed any stumbling blocks that might be trip hazards with the sidewalk, clearly, you know, mark the edge of the sidewalk so that no one would trip going from that to grass, with dirt, sow grass, that sort of thing, and just make an opening that we were more than welcome to do so, without having to put sidewalks in and all that sort of thing. We just couldn't start tinkering with anything else. You know, we could basically just make it level. Mr. Green and I did look at that again. If we start with the fencing, I think that's going to become a little bit more we're going to have to replace some fencing. There's just nothing there to. We would have to take the existing fencing back to something solid, like that would make a fence post or add a fence post, and that fence has been there for several years. And so I think once we started with that, there's going to be some cost with replacing the fencing. And then I think all of you received the email that we got from the safety officer that was out there just doing the random inspection a couple weeks ago. Their concern was allowing traffic through there during the day. So Mr. Atkins and I spoke, and we're pretty confident that we need to put a gate in there of some kind to be able to restrict traffic during the day. So, you know, there's going to be some cost there if we wind up opening that up regardless.
The other thing too, I know I was able to speak to Mr. Reynolds a little bit more just about the report that we got back, or the assessment that was done by the Kentucky Center for School Safety. And that's like what Mr. Smith said, kind of allowing people to come and go throughout the day is something that we would want to take a look at. I also reached out to Patrick Shurock, who is the school resource officer for Southside, and he said that he would get some thoughts together and send that on to Chief Sutton, so that way I just want to make sure we're thinking of all of our stakeholders and everybody that may have something to contribute to the whole conversation, that we're able to get that from them. And one of the other things too, I don't know if we have a record of the audits that have been done previously, because the way that I understand it is that it's just a couple of schools. It's not like every school in the district was audited by or assessed by the Kentucky Center for School Safety. So I'm just curious what previous, like when was Northside and Huntertown last assessed? Because those were the other schools that were mentioned as having access in that way.
Yeah.
And what did it say?
And the Kentucky Council for Safe Schools, they will do 2 a year in our district.
Right.
However, we are still under that safety, I'm not sure what his name is, at the state level. They visit our schools every year, yearly. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so Ben Wilcox, he's a state safety marshal, and, you know, the state visits all of our schools every year. What Southside and the high school had on the 8th of November was just a voluntary review that the Kentucky Center for School Safety does. Just they send out, you know, in the spring, like, you know, we have so many slots if you'd like to sign up, and we typically try. We try to get in. I don't know that I can give you dates right offhand, but I think most of our schools have had them at some point. But it's what the Kentucky Center for School Safety does is it's different than what our annual thing that all of our schools get. That's more about compliance. What the Center for School Safety does is more just recommendations, thoughts. Have you thought about this? Things like that. So.
It'd be nice to see those for other schools. Yeah, just to see when they were last done, and if they, you know, had any kind of recommendations about those access points, you know, at Huntertown and Northside. Just curious.
Okay. So still on the front burner, but not quite finished. Okay. Thank you. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Glass.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brickler. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Thank you all. Have a good night. Happy